to start us off?
Yeah. Good morning, Pat. Thank you. A day or two distance from the match on Thursday. How are you and the group feeling, and what's your perspective heading into Sunday's match?
Certainly, there's disappointment, there's frustration. What we've kind of communicated this whole stretch is good or bad performances, good or bad results. We have to turn it around quickly. So maybe there was a lengthier, I wouldn't say lengthier, but a conversation to reflect on the Champions Cup, and now that chapter's closed, so we have to move on and figure out a way to go perform against Montreal. So it's a quick turnaround, and we have to pick our head up and go play and perform in front of our fans and try to go into this international break in a good way. So that's where we're at.
This is an unfamiliar place for this team in the time that you've been here, especially given, you've gone through challenges, but I think this might be the most difficult of them. How do you feel like the group is responding to maybe a new type of challenge over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, let's say?
If you look at post-New England, not great. Okay. We'll see going into or post-Montreal. So you said it. We haven't, I think, felt this way over a period of time where the performances and the results were not where they need to be. Typically, we've gotten one aspect right, and so we got to continue to work to try to figure things out. So there's been plenty of conversations with players, with staff, to how do we help these guys and continue to teach and get better. That's never going to change, and trying to see how we can get a confident group on the field for Sunday. But we're professionals. There's no feeling sorry for yourself. You got to get on with it, and it's a good thing that we haven't had stretches like this previously where it's felt this way, but now you have to manage those emotions and figure out how to improve. And so that's maybe too simple, but that's where we're at.
The defense was one of the things that looked really strong.
Yeah.
Those first 6 games across all competitions, and then you guys give up the 11 goals over the last 2 games. Why do you think that's been such a struggle this week?
Well, just looking at the game on Thursday, I think a lot of it's box defending. There's plenty of things that happened prior to that, and some of the detail of inverted wingers and how you get a guy on his weak foot, how you can eliminate crosses, how you defend in the box, and understanding how to gain advantages there. I don't think we've done that well. The second goal stands out as far as being too easy for them to get on their strong foot and find a dangerous shot. Obviously losing our marks in the box on the first one. Anytime you concede this many goals, it's bad. I think they took the last 3 goals really well, and there's plenty of things. There's no excuses for the amount that we're talking about, but they were good goals when you kind of look at the actual action to finish the play. But things that led up to it are certainly not at a level that they need to be, whether it's how we're losing the ball or how we're losing the space in being able to defend in transition or in the run of play. So too many things to say. It's been one aspect of our defensive posture or some individual duels, but we have to continue to address it and not hide from it. And what's typically been a strength of our group over the last 2 games hasn't been.
And then when you look at the 2 early goals and then the 2 early goals to start the second half,
right.
And you talked about how they looked scared. I guess how do you coach? I don't know if it's an energy thing. How do you coach that back into a group when you are going through these struggles?
That's a good question. A lot of it's basics. Sometimes simplifying things for guys to help with decision making. Of course, when confidence is lost, and you can see it with an individual or the collective as the game's progressing, you try to make simple adjustments or give simple details to not overcomplicate things when you can see that confidence is lost. So that was our initial approach to the lead up to this game, and maybe then the more complex things become easier to deal with because you get the basic things right, how you defend in certain moments, and how that takes away some of the goals that we conceded, and things just look a little bit more clear. So that was our initial thought.
And then we can talk about Montreal here, but I guess with the heavy workload that players had on Thursday, and then the quick turnaround to Sunday, but also feeling like you need that result. You've got the break, but you do have a lot of guys going on international duty. Do you have to ask the guys to push through some things here? How do you handle that?
There'll be some guys pushing through some stuff. I mean, if you think about the kickoff time, 9 Cincy time, and then a 1 o'clock kickoff tomorrow, that's a quick turnaround, and a lot of it was just collecting information leading up until just prior when we made decisions on what our group was going to look like. So there'll be fatigue, but we gotta muscle through that. I don't want to make that an excuse, and I don't think the players want to either. There's a lot of guys that'll start the game that are coming off of a game, travel, and a quick turnaround, but they also want to make things right. And so a lot of the conversations and the decisions were based on just how guys came through it, and then how we want to approach Montreal as far as a tactical starting point and relationships.
Pat, on Thursday we saw Matt Miazga back in the mix in a more significant, maybe the most significant way we've seen this season so far, and it kind of looked like he brought the intensity he can kind of be known for to the group and into that second half particularly. How valuable is his, I don't want to say like non-soccer qualities, but maybe his personality traits, his leadership to the group in this moment, in the way that you guys are trying to move forward, and then just generally speaking to your team?
Matt had a good 45 minutes. I think leadership, Matt's played in big games, and that helps to understand how to bring composure, how to bring communication. It's still a part of our team when he's not on the field, or when Nick's not on the field, it's lacking. And we'll continue to try to get guys more and more comfortable with how they communicate and help each other out. But Matt does that in a more natural way, and so structurally, how he reads the game, he can position guys next to him in a way where they hear him and the communication's effective. And that's been a part of our game that's been missing, and was refreshing to see that come back a little bit with his presence. But then just the playmaking in the game, reading the game, I think he anticipates plays very well, and defends the box very well. So we saw a lot of the strengths of Matt come out in that second 45.
And then on Montreal tomorrow, what stands out most to you about Montreal?
Well, they've collected some league experience within their group, with Vera, with Avilas, with Thorolson, and Carmona. So those are a lot of guys new to the team, but familiar with this league. So you're seeing them similar, different roles within their structure. Difficult to play against. Some of the man-for-man concepts that we've analyzed, and how they defend against the ball are things that come up in conversation. So how do you combat that? How do you find solutions to have success there? And then with the ball, they can play. I think they've shown a balance of playing direct. They got Owusu, who's for me an excellent target striker. How he uses his body, how he gets the midfield and the wide guys into play, how he runs in behind, how he moves in front of goal. I think he is consistently improving. So he's a handful. Those are some of the the things that have stood out for us. But yeah, it'll be a good challenge.
Kind of going off Carter's question about Matt, like, are you seeing or are you asking any certain guys to like step up that leadership? Like, do you need to see some new leaders emerge in this time?
That's been a part of the conversation because obviously Matt hasn't, been on the field until recently. But you can ask and ask and ask. It's got to be something that the players find comfort in or can get uncomfortable figuring out how to do it, in not just talking to talk, but what are you saying? Well, is there substance with the communication and how that impacts how we attack, how we defend, all those things. And so it's something that we've talked about at length because it needs to improve within the group, because sometimes it's too quiet, and especially when things get tough, who's there to guide the group, or a voice that you can lean on, or voices that you can lean on to problem solve, or to just have the right energy and confidence. So I would say it's still something that needs to improve in the group.
Is there anyone in particular that you care to kind of
highlight?
like that you're kind of asking that of?
All of them, to be honest. In the midfield, we got a pretty quiet group. I think I've seen Obi take on a bigger role. You hear his voice more. It's not as natural for Pavel and Sammy when they're in there. Brian Anunga, when he's been in there, I think you hear his voice. And a lot of the other guys' attacking pieces, I think it's too quiet. A lot of times we look at the goalkeeper, the center backs, and the communication from behind, but who's communicating from ahead of the ball, or relationships on the field. It doesn't have to be that everybody hears you all the time, but it has to be that somebody does close to you, so the movements are coordinated. So those types of things. But Kevin a little bit. I think even Tom coming into the mix, he can be a little bit more vocal, but I think he's still finding his way. And those are a couple of the names. Alvis, when he's been available and out on the field, can continue to improve his communication. So.
I got one more, sorry. Going back to the international break, and I think I've counted you guys having 8, could be more.
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 Yeah. 12, but only 10 will travel.
Okay. What does that do for the club in a more broad sense of having that number of guys go into different camps, bring FC Cincinnati to those national teams, and what does that do for the profile and prestige of the club?
It depends. You have guys that come in already involved with their national teams, and that as part of the recruitment and the conversation. These are players that we're likely going to lose in the FIFA windows. But then there's players like Ender who are doing well with our group that get the opportunity, of Brian Ramirez. So that, to me, I take a lot of pride. I know our staff does the players themselves, and the teammates do, because it means they're having success and they're being recognized. So it's a little bit of both. Guys that come in with that experience already, and guys that have improved and helped our group to be recognized. So the number is growing, and the fact that there's 12 players being recognized and 10 actually get to go and and play is certainly a positive, and that's both at the youth level and with the senior teams. So, I'm a broken record there, but I love it. The international window, like the training schedule and what that looks like, always becomes challenging, because now we'll have a lot less numbers, but we'll merge a lot with FCC2 and the days where we need bigger numbers. We've already kind of calculated what that looks like with the schedules and mixed groups or smaller training groups and their games. So I think we're in a good place, but a lot of guys that'll be away. Staff with his injury and Ender with his with the visa situation.